are joined by co-creators of the brand new podcast, See You in Your Nightmares, Heather Einhorn and Adam Staffaroni.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having us.
Hello.
Thanks, guys. Hey, I see that cool little See You in Your Nightmares artwork in the background there you guys got.
Oh, yeah.
We worked with this amazing comic book artist. Her name is Yejin Park, and she did absolutely incredible work on this show. So we had to show it off because we're like kind of obsessed with it.
Yes, I love it. It's amazing. So tell us a little bit about what is this podcast about?
Sure. See You in Your Nightmares follows Harper Hart. Harper has been insomniac for over a year, ever since the mysterious death of her twin sister, Callie. Now, every time Harper tries to fall asleep, she's haunted by this recurring nightmare where Callie comes back to her and blames Harper for her death over and over and over again. So she's become, just completely non-functional, stopped going to school, stopped seeing friends, because of this insomnia, until she finally checks herself into the Lutwidge Wellness Center out on Shelter Island, which is supposed to have this cutting edge AI tech that can solve any sleep problem.
Yeah, and once Harper checks into the center, she uncovers pretty quickly that she can jump into the nightmares of the other patients at the center. So each episode will be jumping along with Harper to all the different nightmares of the different patients at the center simultaneously while she tries to uncover the mystery of what happened to her sister. So it's a crazy fun show. We jump through different subgenres of horror, and it's just a fun, wild, mind-bending ride.
Hell yes. So what was your inspiration for this?
Yeah, so I actually come from a family of insomniacs. So, so this was this one it came from a place of reality. All these different sleep disorders. I just remember growing up. We used to wake when we went to my grandma's house. We used to wonder all the time, like how does grandma know? Like, how is grandma up like all the time? Like, we didn't put the pieces together that she was just like inside. Like, we'd sleep out to try to get cookies and stuff, and grandma would always just like be there. So this is really that, at least for Harper, the inspiration comes from that world, and just like the sort of mixing between dreams and reality when you don't get sleep, and how that sort of messes with your mind, and you start to question, whether or not things are real, or whether you're just, going crazy.
And we all have our own recurring nightmares, or at least when I was young, I think the summer after 5th or 6th grade, I decided to read it. And then
oh God.
I would wake up in the middle of the night, and my bedroom was on the 2nd floor, but I would see Pennywise's face in the window. So, just remembering back to our own recurring nightmares, and, how horrible they were, and then wanting to torture our characters as much as possible. So let's see if we can give them something even more messed up.
It's rooted in fun childhood memories. That's good.
Exactly.
Fun. Yeah, fun.
Yeah, it's a good time for everybody. I also like, Heather, yours was basically inspired by, you were a snack thief, and that's kind of and you were caught.
Oh yeah, 100%. We got caught 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And as a kid, you don't really put the pieces together. You just sort of think that grandma has these super cool powers where she just always can tell when you're trying to like go get cookies at night. But yeah, no, it turns out her power was just the power of insomnia. Harper is harnessing that power as well on this podcast.
I don't know. I still, I'm a firm believer. I think grandparents in particular, and maybe parents a little bit, do have some weird sort of like superpower. Like, maybe not intense as we thought when we were kids, but I think there's something there.
Definitely. They can sense things. My mom can sense things like from like, she's not even here, but she'll like call, and she'll be like, a storm is coming. And I'll be like, and then I'll look at the weather, and 3 hours later, and I'll be like, oh my God, there is a storm coming. Like, she's like, no, we're like she's not even here. So I totally agree with you.
I love that your mom is also the gypsy from The Wolfman. just to see her and calls you with like cryptic messages every so often. That's pretty cool.
Agree. I like that. She's gonna like that. I'm gonna go back to her at that later. She's gonna really enjoy it.
I hope she likes that. I don't think your mom is someone I want coming after me. I don't want to be on her bad list.
Well, her name is Faith, and the villain in the show is Dr. Faith Carter. So we did name the villain after she was initially, she was like, really, Heather? And I was like, what? I was like, it's a cool name. Faith is a cool name. So we're gonna do it.
So she should be honored, right?
Exactly. She studies the, it's like she's investigating the sleep disorders, which I feel like is very my mom. Like she'd be like investigating it, like calling me, like asking questions. So I feel like it fit.
Okay, it's in line with it. Okay. Adam, I like how you mentioned it at way too young of an age, because that's also, I think that's what did it for me in a lot of ways, so to speak. I took that on way too early, and I like paid the price. But this is who I grew up to be, so I think it worked out well for everybody.
Oh yeah, and it was great. We all, when we got the writers' room together, the first thing we did was just share our worst nightmares. We just spent a day sitting around talking about like what nightmares like scarred you. And then as we were working on the thing, everybody started having nightmares, recurring nightmares.
Yeah.
Like the deeper we got into the story, the further along we got in the script, the more it messed with everybody's sleep while we were making it.
Man, that was an immersive experience for you guys then.
Oh yeah, living it. Yeah.
See, I would like, in my initial reaction when you're like, oh, we all got together and shared our worst nightmares, I'm like, that's cool, but also that kind of stuff makes me nervous, because I'm like conjuring it back up or something. Like I'm like speaking it back into like my existence, and I don't want any part of that.
Right. And that was, I think somebody brought that up when we started with the writer, and we were like, sorry, this is what you signed up for. It's like bring it all back up and then put it into the story. Yeah. That's the way to exercise it, is to put it on the page, and then you'll give it to everybody who listens to the show, and it won't be yours anymore.
It's like The Ring, or like It Follows. You're just passing it on to other people. Not my problem anymore.
That's what we're hoping. Because Nightmare on Elm Street was a big inspiration for us here, but none of us really wanted to be actually in Nightmare on Elm Street, and that's sort of what happened to everybody that was on the team. So we're excited to pass it on to the audience to experience.
So are there a lot of like real nightmares incorporated into this? Like after you guys are talking in your writer's room and people are like sharing their worst nightmares, are a lot of those now passed on to the characters in the podcast?
In one form or another, yeah. Everything got melded and combined, and artistic license happened. But our head writer, an amazing playwright, her name's Rendara Santiago. She came with, because she has a sister, and they both have the same nightmare, but from different vantage points.
That's weird.
They have the same nightmare, but as if they're watching it from houses across the street from each other. So that made it in. A lot of, and I mean, similar to mine, a lot of people when they were younger had pop culture inspired nightmares. So they see, you watch Aliens and you're terrified by it, and then that kind of infects your dreams. So we were riffing off of what everybody's like pop culture inspirations for their nightmares, versus and also mixed in some of their own original nightmares. And it was just like a super fun playground to mix all that stuff together and see what came out of it.
That's really cool. Like the most horrifying melting pot imaginable,
Oh yeah, exactly.
And when you look at like all of our favorite horror movies from growing up, it's like you start to realize that, just like we had this creative challenge of creating these nightmares in an audio only format, so many of all of our favorites growing up were so audio forward. We didn't even really like think about it to that extent until we got into this podcast. And then we sort of, the ball rolled down the hill on that. And we, like Adam said, like Aliens, like the slimy, drippy, growl of the alien, and you start to think about it when you've taken the visuals out of the equation and how important that part is. And so that's a big part of what we were doing as well. It's nightmares, but it's all audio forward nightmares. Like, how can we really like create that experience for people?
I love that. And also, okay, so you guys went about this in a very interesting way. It's like 3D audio and it's like very immersive. And I mean, I don't know how else to explain it other than like listen to it with headphones on and it does feel very immersive and incredibly 3D. So what was the process like? How did you decide to do it in that way versus just like regular?
Mhm.
Yeah, we just wanted to scare everyone, like as much as possible was our basic decision making on getting
All right.
3D. No, it was actually our awesome sound designers over at Chapter 4. We were just going to do bits and pieces of this in 3D, but upon really getting into it, we just decided to go all in and go full 3D on it. And there's something really like future retro nostalgia cool about the idea of nightmares in 3D. I think that was like pretty irresistible for us. And yeah, it was just like it felt like a really natural fit for this podcast.
And the genesis of it all came from, this is our third podcast, and when we were talking at the very start of the project, we wanted to take advantage of the fact that most people listen to these on earbuds, because that's really as close as you can get to really being in somebody's head, when they have two earbuds in and they're listening to your story that way. So we're like, okay, what's the most inside people's heads we could go? And it's, immediately we're like, oh, dreams, nightmares. So just springboarding off of that, when we got the chance to do 3D audio with it, and yeah, Sarah, our amazing sound designer, at first we were just like, could we do the nightmares in 3D? And she's like, I tried that, but I think it'd be better to do everything in 3D. So I'm just going to do everything. We're like, great, let's do it.
Nice.
Yeah.
How different is the process between like 3D audio and regular audio? Like, do you know much about like what the difference is between those?
So that's definitely like I wish Sarah would definitely be
Yeah,
able
it's
to
like
technical answer, but the way I would describe it for the audience is that it's kind of like the difference between 2D animation and 3D animation for the experience of the audience. So you're going to hear when the alien skitters across, you will hear the alien actually skittering across in a way that is different than just like it's all happening at the same time. And we pan from left to right, but it really is going to feel like the sound is all around you. And that's all Sarah. Like we designed the nightmare specifically to be super immersive, but she does her technical magic on the sound design side to bring it from 2D to 3D. That's all her.
very cool. I'm really excited for people to check this out. I got to sample like the first episode, but I'm already hooked, so I want to hear like the rest of the season.
Well, it's a super fun ride, and we do go through lots of different types of nightmares. So if you're, we call it like a psychological thriller or sci-fi, but if you're just a fan of horror in general, this is going to be a fun podcast for anybody that's a fan. And also, it's YA, so all the characters are teenagers. So also, high school is like a really horrifying place already. So there's lots of really fun, from a psychological perspective, jumping off points for all these characters, and hopefully we dredge up everyone's horrors from their childhood on top of everything else.
There's a little bit of trauma for everyone in this show. Perfect.
Exactly.
Amazing. So I'm excited for this, but I've also got to send it to my nephew. So I'm looking forward to traumatizing him with this as well.
Yes.
Please spread it around. We need to pass it along for sure.
Okay. And then he's going to be passing it around at school, and then it's just going to be like, awesome.
Yeah.
100%. We hope that they, will share it with their friends and talk about the different nightmares. And there's all these different characters that represent different types of kids and the different nightmares that they all have. And so we're in Aliens, but we're also in a high school too. In that nightmare specifically, we don't want to give away too much, but imagine if an alien dropped into your high school and that was your nightmare. So that's a fun way to kick things off.
Okay.
And if the show gives anyone out there nightmares, tweet us your nightmares.
Yes.
For the next season, probably.
Exactly.
Nice. Smart. That's a smart way to get content. Inspiration. All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much. So there's 12 episodes total. Is that right?
12
Okay, 12
episodes.
episodes.
The first
Released
two are out.
weekly.
Yep, the first two are out September 22nd. And then weekly after that, and 12 episodes total, and a different nightmare every week.
A different nightmare every week. Sold. You had me at that. All right. Thank you so much, guys. See you in your nightmares starting September 22nd, weekly on Wednesdays from iHeartRadio Podcast Network. Thank you so much. I can't wait to check out the rest of the season.